The blue skies over the bustling city of New Horizon darkened without warning. People paused in the streets, their heads tilting upward, their faces filled with confusion and growing fear. A low, rumbling hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground, rattling windows, and sending flocks of birds scattering in every direction. Then it appeared, a massive, gleaming spacecraft descending through the clouds. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The ship's surface shimmered like liquid metal, shifting colors as it caught the sunlight. It hovered silently above the city center, casting a massive shadow over skyscrapers, parks, and streets filled with stunned onlookers. For a moment, there was an eerie silence, as if the entire world was holding its breath. A panel on the underside of the ship began to open. Gas hissed out, and a platform slowly lowered to the ground. On it stood a figure so tall, so otherworldly, that it left the crowd frozen in awe. She was a 13-foot-tall alien woman, her presence radiating both power and elegance. Her body was sleek and muscular, her skin gleaming with a silvery hue that seemed almost alive. Her glowing yellow eyes scanned the crowd with an intensity that sent shivers down spines. The alien woman stepped off the platform with a grace that belied her size. Each step caused a faint tremor, a reminder of her immense physical presence. The crowd instinctively backed away, whispering nervously among themselves. Smartphones were raised, capturing the moment as news stations scrambled to broadcast the event live. She stopped in the middle of the plaza, towering over everyone, and raised her hand. The hum of the ship quieted, and her voice boomed, amplified by some unseen force. "Humans of Earth," she said in perfect English, her tone deep and commanding. "I am Ketra of the Zorik's Dominion. I have come to test your worth." The crowd murmured louder now, questions and panic rippling through the people like waves. Test. Worth. What did she mean? Ketra let the noise linger for a moment before continuing. "In my travels across galaxies, I have met countless species," she said, her glowing eyes sweeping over the crowd. "Many claimed strength, intelligence, and courage. Few proved it. Now, I stand here to see if your kind is worthy to be remembered or forgotten." A man in a suit, clearly a government official, stepped forward, flanked by a group of armed guards. "What do you want from us?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. The guards pointed their weapons at Ketra, but she didn't even flinch. "I seek a challenger," Ketra declared, her voice echoing off the surrounding buildings. "Someone strong, brave, and clever enough to face me in trials of skill and endurance. Someone who can prove that humanity is more than just words and fear." The official stammered, trying to respond, but Ketra ignored him. She scanned the crowd again, her piercing gaze locking onto individuals who immediately looked away. The tension in the air was almost unbearable. "Is there no one here willing to face me?" Ketra asked, her tone laced with disappointment. "Is this the strength of your people? To cower and hide?" Her words stung. A young boy in the crowd tugged at his father's sleeve. "Why isn't anyone saying anything, Dad?" the boy whispered. The father pulled him back, shaking his head, his eyes wide with fear. Ketra took another step forward, and the guards flinched. "I will not harm you," she said, addressing the crowd. "This is not a battle for your survival. This is a test of your spirit. Show me that humanity is worth the effort it took to come here." Just then, a voice called out from the back of the crowd. It wasn't loud, but it carried enough weight to make everyone turn and look. "I'll face you." The crowd parted, revealing a man in his late 30s, dressed in a simple leather jacket and jeans. His dark hair was slightly unkempt, and his piercing green eyes burned with determination. He stepped forward, hands in his pockets, his posture calm despite the towering alien in front of him. "And who are you, human?" Ketra asked, tilting her head as she examined him. "Sam Carter," the man replied. "I'm nobody special, just someone who's not afraid to try." Ketra smiled for the first time, a sharp and almost predatory grin. "Courage, a good start. But words are meaningless without action. Sam stopped a few feet from her, craning his neck to meet her gaze. "What's the challenge?" "You'll see," Ketra said, her glowing eyes narrowing. "But know this, I do not hold back. If you fail, it will not only reflect on you, but on all of humanity." The tension was palpable. The crowd watched in stunned silence, unsure whether to cheer for Sam or pray for his safety. Ketra turned and began walking back to her ship. "Prepare yourselves, Sam Carter. Your first trial begins at dawn." With that, she stepped onto the platform, which rose back into the ship. The hum of the engines grew louder, and the ship slowly ascended into the sky, disappearing as suddenly as it had appeared. Sam stood in the middle of the plaza, staring at the empty sky. He had no idea what he had just signed up for, but one thing was clear. He was humanity's only hope now. The chosen human. Sam Carter didn't volunteer to be humanity's champion. At least, not at first. When Ketra's ship vanished into the clouds, the world fell into chaos. Media outlets ran non-stop coverage of the event. Analysts debated the aliens' intentions, and governments scrambled to form a response. The phrase "humanity's worth" echoed across every screen, news article, and whispered conversation. Who would step forward to face her? Sam had been watching it all from his cluttered workshop in the outskirts of New Horizon. Sparks flew as he worked on an old motorcycle, the clatter of tools drowning out the constant buzz of the TV in the background. He didn't care much for politics or alien diplomacy. Those things were someone else's problem, and Sam had spent the last 5 years avoiding problems that didn't directly involve him. But the problem came knocking anyway. The door to his workshop slammed open, and 3 people in black suits stepped inside, flanked by 2 armed soldiers. Sam didn't even look up. "Shop's closed," he muttered, wiping his hands on a rag. "Sam Carter," one of the suits asked, ignoring his dismissal. "Depends on who's asking," Sam replied, finally glancing at them. He raised an eyebrow at their stiff postures and the weapons slung across the soldiers' shoulders. "Let me guess. Government types. Did I forget to file my taxes or something?" The man in the center stepped forward. He was tall, with graying hair and the kind of face that had probably never cracked a smile. "Mr. Carter, we're not here about taxes. You've been selected for an urgent mission." Sam snorted. "I don't do missions anymore. Try someone else." The woman beside the man pulled out a tablet and tapped a button. A hologram flickered to life, displaying Ketra's towering form in the middle of New Horizons Plaza. Her booming voice filled the room. "I seek a challenger. Someone strong, brave, and clever enough to face me in trials of skill and endurance." Sam stared at the hologram, his jaw tightening. He recognized the scene instantly. He'd seen it replayed on TV 100 times since yesterday. "Still not my problem," he said, turning back to his workbench. The woman stepped forward, her voice sharp. "It is now. Ketra's ship was monitoring Earth long before her arrival. She specifically requested you." Sam froze. "What?" "She named you, Mr. Carter," the gray-haired man said, his tone grave. "Before she left, she transmitted a list of qualities she was looking for in a challenger. Every expert we consulted believes she's been studying you." "Studying me?" "That's insane," Sam said, though his mind raced. He'd spent years off the radar, deliberately avoiding attention. How could an alien know anything about him? The woman tapped the tablet again, bringing up a new image. It was Sam. Footage from years ago, when he was still an astronaut. It showed him during a daring spacewalk, repairing a damaged satellite with only seconds to spare. Another clip followed, showing him navigating a dangerous re-entry when his shuttle systems failed. And then another, showing him rescuing his stranded crewmates during a deep space expedition. "We think she was monitoring these events," the man explained. "Your bravery, your resourcefulness. These are the qualities she's looking for." Sam's fists clenched. "That was a long time ago. I'm not that guy anymore." The woman's voice softened, but her words carried urgency. "That may be true, but right now, The world needs you to be that guy again. Sam looked away, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. He'd left that life behind for a reason. The fame, the pressure, the constant danger. It had cost him everything. He'd sworn never to go back. "I can't," he said finally. "I'm not a hero. Not anymore." The gray-haired man stepped closer, lowering his voice. "If you don't do this, she'll leave. But she won't just leave quietly." She made it clear. Failure to step forward will mark humanity as unworthy. Do you know what that could mean? What kind of message that sends to her people, or other alien civilizations? This isn't just about you, Carter. It's about all of us. The workshop fell silent. Sam stared at the ground, his thoughts racing. He didn't want this responsibility. But could he really live with himself if he turned his back on the planet? If his refusal meant humanity lost its chance to prove itself? Finally, he sighed and turned to face them. "Fine," he said. "I'll do it. But if I die, I'm blaming you." The woman smiled faintly. "We'll try to avoid that." That night, Sam stood alone on a deserted airfield, staring up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Ketra was waiting. He didn't know what kind of challenges she had in store, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just a test of strength or skill. It was a test of who he truly was. The hum of an approaching aircraft snapped him out of his thoughts. A sleek, black jet landed on the runway, its lights piercing the darkness. As the door opened, Sam squared his shoulders and took a deep breath. It was time to face the unknown. The first test. Sam Carter stood in an enormous, circular arena aboard Ketra's ship. The floor beneath him was made of a smooth black material that reflected his image like a dark mirror. The walls curved high above him, pulsing with faint streams of glowing blue light. It felt less like a room and more like standing inside a living, breathing entity. Ketra towered before him, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Around them, smaller alien figures, observers, watched silently from hovering platforms. Their strange, elongated faces seemed to flicker in and out of focus, as though their very existence bent the rules of reality. "This," Ketra began, her deep voice filling the chamber, "is the first trial. The trial of strength." Sam glanced around, his heart pounding. "Strength, ha? Let me guess. You want me to arm wrestle you?" A ripple of amusement flickered across Ketra's face. If only it were that simple. But no, human. Strength is not merely about brute force. It is about endurance, adaptation, and the ability to overcome. With a wave of her hand, the floor of the arena shifted. Large, cylindrical weights, each as big as a car, rose from the ground. They gleamed with the same metallic sheen as Ketra's ship, humming faintly with an energy Sam didn't understand. "You will lift these weights and move them to the far end of the arena," Ketra said, pointing to a distant glowing platform. "The faster you complete the task, the better your performance. Fail to finish, and the trial is over. You will have proven nothing." Sam let out a low whistle. "Those things look like they weigh a ton. 3 tons, to be precise," Ketra said, her tone almost casual. Sam blinked. "Right. 3 tons. No big deal." Ketra stepped closer, leaning down so her glowing yellow eyes locked with his. "Do not fear failure, human. Fear hesitation. The longer you wait, the heavier they will feel." Sam took a deep breath and stepped toward the first cylinder. His mind raced. There was no way he could lift this thing, not with pure muscle. But Ketra had said strength wasn't just about force. She wanted to see if he could think on his feet. "Okay, Carter," he muttered to himself. "Let's work smarter, not harder." He knelt beside the cylinder, running his hands along its smooth surface. It was perfectly cylindrical, no handles or grooves to grip. But as he examined it closely, he noticed faint seams running along the sides. They were almost invisible, but they were there. He pressed his fingers into one of the seams, and to his surprise, a small panel slid open. Inside was a glowing blue crystal, pulsing faintly. Sam didn't know what it was. but it had to be important. "You're allowed to investigate," Ketra called out from behind him. "But every second you waste brings you closer to failure." Ignoring her, Sam studied the crystal. He reached in and twisted it. The moment he did, the cylinder emitted a low hum and began to vibrate. Slowly, its weight seemed to shift, as if the crystal were some kind of stabilizer. Sam grinned. "Gotcha." He adjusted his grip, using the crystal's vibration to help him lift one end of the cylinder off the ground. It was still heavy, insanely heavy, but manageable. Grunting with effort, he began dragging it toward the glowing platform. The alien observers murmured among themselves, their voices a strange blend of clicks and whispers. Ketra watched silently, her expression giving nothing away. By the time Sam reached the platform, his muscles burned and sweat dripped down his face. He dropped the cylinder onto the glowing surface, which emitted a soft chime. One down, two more to go. The second cylinder was even harder. The crystal inside seemed more unstable, its vibrations erratic. Sam had to pause several times to readjust, nearly dropping it more than once. The strain on his body was immense, but he kept going, gritting his teeth and pushing forward. When he finally reached the platform with the second cylinder, he collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. He glanced over at Ketra, who stood with her arms still crossed, her expression as calm and unreadable as ever. "Two down," Sam muttered. "One more to go." The final cylinder was different, larger, heavier, and when he opened the panel, he found two crystals inside instead of one. They pulsed in opposing rhythms, creating a chaotic vibration that made the cylinder nearly impossible to control. Sam stared at it, his mind racing. This wasn't just about strength or even persistence. It was about problem-solving. Ketra wasn't just testing his body. She was testing his ability to adapt under pressure. He carefully twisted one of the crystals, slowing its pulse, and adjusted the second until their rhythms aligned. The vibration steadied, and the cylinder became more manageable. Using every ounce of strength he had left, Sam dragged it across the arena. When he finally placed it on the platform, his arms gave out, and he collapsed to the ground. His vision blurred, and his lungs burned, but he'd done it. He'd finished. The arena was silent. The alien observers watched, their faces unreadable. Finally, Ketra stepped forward, standing over him like a giant shadow. "You are resourceful, human," she said, her voice softer now. "But resourcefulness alone will not be enough for what lies ahead." She turned and walked away, leaving Sam lying there, exhausted but alive. The trial of strength was over, but Sam knew this was only the beginning. The mind game. Sam Carter woke to the sound of a low melodic hum. Blinking against the dim, bluish light of the chamber, he realized he wasn't in the arena anymore. The walls around him were smooth and seamless, glowing faintly with alien symbols that shifted and twisted like living glyphs. He sat up on a soft, metallic platform that seemed to adjust to his weight. "Where the hell am I now?" he muttered, rubbing his eyes. Ketra's voice echoed through the chamber, deep and resonant. "You are in the Hall of Insight, human. The second trial begins now." Sam groaned, his body still aching from the previous challenge. "Fantastic. What kind of torture have you got lined up this time?" "This is not torture," Ketra replied, her tone calm but firm. "This is a test of your intellect and intuition. Strength alone is meaningless without the mind to guide it." Before Sam could respond, the room shifted. The walls folded in on themselves like liquid, revealing a massive grid of glowing panels stretching endlessly in all directions. The air shimmered with holographic projections, maps, puzzles, symbols, and alien equations floating like constellations. It was overwhelming, like stepping into the center of a living, breathing computer. "What is this?" Sam asked, his voice trailing off as he turned in a slow circle. "The trial of the mind," Ketra said. "Your task is simple. Find the exit." Sam frowned. "That's it. Just find the way out." Ketra's golden eyes flickered in the air before him, her face appearing as a floating hologram. You underestimate the challenge. This maze is not bound by your primitive concepts of space and time. Every step you take, every choice you make, will reshape the path ahead. Fail to adapt, and you will be lost. The ground beneath him began to shift, and Sam staggered, regaining his balance. The first step of the grid lit up, glowing brighter than the others. "Step forward," Ketra instructed, her voice taking on an almost teasing edge. "Let us see how sharp your mind truly is." Sam hesitated, glancing around the endless maze of symbols and lights. There were no clear paths, no obvious clues. He took a deep breath and stepped onto the glowing tile. Instantly, the symbols around him changed. The grid ahead shifted, and 3 new paths appeared, each marked by different alien glyphs. One glowed red, another blue, and the third green. "Great," Sam muttered. "A galactic guessing game." He studied the glyphs, realizing they resembled patterns he'd seen in the chamber before. They weren't just random symbols. They were equations, each representing a sequence. He had no idea what they meant, but his gut told him to choose the blue path. As soon as he stepped onto the blue tile, the air shimmered, and the path ahead transformed again. This time, the grid folded in on itself, creating walls and corridors that seemed to move like waves. More glyphs appeared, each glowing with different intensities. "Every choice shapes the next," Ketra's voice echoed. "Do not rely on instinct alone, human. Think." Sam squinted at the symbols. Some seemed to repeat, while others faded quickly. He realized they weren't just static, they were part of a timed sequence. If he moved too slowly, the tiles would reset, and the path would collapse. "Of course, there's a timer," Sam grumbled, stepping carefully onto the next tile. The puzzles grew more complex as he progressed. Some required him to align shifting symbols, others forced him to calculate alien equations that defied human logic. At one point, the floor beneath him disappeared entirely, leaving him suspended in a zero-gravity field surrounded by spinning cubes. Each cube displayed fragments of a pattern he had to piece together before the timer ran out. The alien observers watched silently from the edges of the shifting maze, their flickering forms barely visible. Sam could feel their gazes, unblinking and analytical, as if they were dissecting his every move. Sweat dripped down his face as he solved puzzle after puzzle, each more difficult than the last. His mind felt like it was on fire, but he refused to stop. Every time he doubted himself, he remembered Ketra's words. "This is not just about you. It is about proving humanity's worth." Finally, after what felt like hours, Sam reached the center of the maze. A single glowing pedestal rose from the floor, and on it sat a pulsating sphere of light. He reached out, his hand trembling, and touched it. The maze dissolved instantly, leaving him standing in an empty chamber once again. Ketra's towering form appeared before him, her expression unreadable. "You solved it," she said, her voice quieter now. "Few have reached this point." Sam wiped the sweat from his brow. "You mean, people have tried this before?" Ketra nodded. "Many species, many failures. You are not the first to attempt these trials, human, but you are the first to persist with such determination." "Was this just a test?" Sam asked, his voice sharp. "Or were you trying to break me?" Ketra tilted her head, a faint smile playing on her lips. "A broken mind cannot lead. A weak will cannot endure. You have proven you are neither." She stepped closer, her glowing eyes locking onto his. "But the next trial will push you further. Prepare yourself, Sam Carter. The hardest challenges are yet to come." With that, the room dissolved into light, and Sam felt himself falling toward the unknown. The unexpected alliance. Sam Carter was no stranger to pressure, but standing face to face with Ketra in the heart of her ship was something else entirely. The chamber they were in felt alive, its walls shifting subtly like they were breathing. Strange, organic conduits ran across the ceiling. glowing faintly with alien energy. But it wasn't the room that unnerved him. It was Ketra. Her towering figure loomed over him, her metallic skin gleaming in the ambient light. For the first time, though, there was something in her expression that wasn't just confidence. There was hesitation, almost as if she was holding something back. "You've done well so far, human," Ketra said, her voice carrying that same commanding resonance. "But these trials are not the true test." Sam frowned. "Not the true test. Then what have I been doing? A warm-up?" Her golden eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Sam thought she might actually laugh. Instead, she stepped closer, her gaze locking onto his. "Your strength, your mind, your endurance, they matter. But I did not come to this planet just to see if one human could solve puzzles or move heavy objects. I came for something far greater." Sam crossed his arms, the ache in his muscles forgotten. "Then why not just say that from the start? Why all the smoke and mirrors?" Ketra's expression shifted slightly, just enough for Sam to catch a glimpse of something he hadn't seen before. Was that doubt? "I had to know if you were worth speaking to," she admitted. "If your kind was worth trusting." "Trusting," Sam repeated, his eyebrows shooting up. "What are you talking about?" Ketra turned away, her massive frame moving with an almost reluctant grace. "You humans see yourselves as small," she said, her voice quieter now. "Fragile. But I see something else. I see a species that defies odds, that refuses to break even when the universe throws its worst at them." Sam blinked. "I mean, thanks for the compliment, but you still haven't answered my question. What's this really about?" She hesitated, then raised a hand. The chamber darkened, and a massive hologram appeared in the air. It showed a planet, vast and beautiful, with oceans that shimmered like liquid crystal and skies streaked with strange, swirling colors. "This is Zorixis," Ketra said, her voice soft but filled with weight. "My home." Sam studied the hologram. "It's beautiful." "It was," Ketra replied. The image began to change, the vibrant colors fading into dull grays and blacks. The oceans dried up, the skies turned red, and the surface cracked like scorched earth. "But now it is dying." Sam's stomach sank. "What happened?" Ketra's fists clenched at her sides. "We trusted another species, a powerful empire that claimed they sought peace. We shared our knowledge, our resources, our technology. And they betrayed us. They stripped our planet bare and left it to wither." The silence that followed was heavy. Sam didn't know what to say. Ketra's voice, usually so strong and commanding, now carried a trace of something unexpected. Pain. "I swore that would never happen again," she continued. "I swore that if I were to share what remains of our legacy, I would ensure it went to a species that deserved it, one that could honor it." Sam took a step closer. "And you think humanity might be that species?" "I don't know," Ketra admitted, turning to face him again. "That is why I came here. That is why I tested you." Sam let out a slow breath, trying to process everything. "So, these trials aren't just about proving myself. They're about proving humanity." "Yes," she said simply, "but I had to start with you. If the one I chose as your champion faltered, what hope would the rest of your species have?" Sam ran a hand through his hair, a bitter laugh escaping him. "No pressure, huh?" Ketra's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "You have done well so far, better than I expected." He looked at her, his mind still racing. "But you still don't trust us, do you?" She didn't answer immediately. When she finally spoke, her tone was measured. "Trust is not given freely, Sam Carter. It must be earned." Sam nodded, his jaw tightening. "Then let me ask you something. If this isn't just about strength or intelligence, what's the real test? What do you want to see in us?" Ketra studied him for a long moment, her glowing eyes seeming to pierce right through him. "I want to see if you can rise above your own flaws, if you can choose unity over division, if you can prove that your species is more than just potential." Sam met her gaze, his voice steady. "And what happens if we do?" Ketra stepped closer, her towering form casting a long shadow over him. "Then you will inherit something far greater than you can imagine. But if you fail, your species will not be given a second chance." The room fell silent again, the weight of her words hanging between them. Finally, Ketra turned and gestured toward a doorway that had appeared in the far wall. "The next trial awaits," she said. "This will not only test you but your ability to lead. Prepare yourself, Sam Carter. Humanity's fate may depend on what you do next." Sam stared after her, his heart pounding. He didn't know what the next trial would bring. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about proving that humanity was worth saving. The final challenge. Sam Carter stood at the edge of a vast, open chamber that defied logic. The space seemed infinite, its walls shimmering with a strange, translucent energy that made it impossible to tell where the room ended and the void began. Floating platforms, jagged rocks, and spinning metallic rings hung suspended in midair, forming a chaotic maze of obstacles. Some glowed faintly, while others crackled with arcs of blue electricity. Ketra's voice echoed from above, though Sam couldn't see her. "This is the final trial, Sam Carter, the trial of will. Here, you will face your greatest enemy. Not me, not the challenges, but yourself." "Right," Sam muttered, peering into the labyrinth of floating hazards. No pressure. A pathway of hovering platforms appeared in front of him, glowing brightly for only a moment before beginning to flicker. Sam's instincts screamed at him to move before they vanished entirely, and without a second thought, he leaped onto the first one. The platform wobbled under his weight but held steady. A second later, it began to emit a high-pitched whine. Sam's heart dropped as he realized it wasn't going to hold for long. He jumped to the next platform, just as the first one disintegrated into sparks. "This is how it's going to be, huh?" he muttered to himself, steadying his balance. The trial was relentless. Each step brought a new challenge. A rotating platform that spun faster as he crossed it, narrow beams that required perfect balance, and walls of energy that pulsed with searing heat, forcing him to time his movements precisely. The obstacles weren't just testing his physical endurance. They were testing his ability to think under pressure, to keep moving despite the odds. As he reached the halfway point, the maze shifted. Entire sections rearranged themselves with a deep, rumbling sound. Platforms that had seemed stable were now spinning wildly, and new hazards appeared: spinning blades, sudden bursts of flame, and what looked like gravity wells pulling objects into their swirling centers. Ketra's voice rang out again, calm and distant. "This is where most falter. They see the chaos, the danger, and they freeze. They let fear control them. I'm not most people," Sam shouted, dodging a blade that came within inches of his head. He rolled onto a stable platform, his chest heaving as he caught his breath. "Prove it," Ketra said simply. The words struck something deep within him. This wasn't just about finishing the trial. It was about proving to her, and to himself, that he could rise above the fear, the doubt, and the pain. He wiped the sweat from his brow and pushed forward, his movements becoming more fluid, more confident. As he neared the end of the trial, the obstacles grew even more unforgiving. A series of platforms flickered in and out of existence, forcing him to calculate their patterns in real time. Sam leaped from one to the next, barely making it each time. Behind him, the platforms dissolved into nothingness, leaving no room for hesitation. He reached the final section, a massive, spinning ring surrounded by arcs of crackling energy. At its center was a glowing orb, pulsing like a heartbeat. The exit was just beyond it. "Only one step remains," Ketra's voice said, softer now. "But this is the most dangerous of all." Sam narrowed his eyes at the spinning ring. It wasn't just turning. It was accelerating, the arcs of energy growing more erratic with each rotation. He could feel the heat from the energy pulses even from where he stood. One wrong move, and it would all be over. "Okay, Carter," he muttered, steeling himself. You've come this far. No backing down now. He waited for the right moment, his heart pounding in his chest. When the ring spun just slow enough, he jumped, grabbing onto one of the metallic bars. The energy surged around him, crackling so close that he could feel the hairs on his arms standing on end. Hand over hand, he climbed through the spinning chaos, dodging bursts of energy and clinging to the bar as the ring tried to throw him off. Every muscle in his body burned, but he refused to let go. Finally, he reached the center. The glowing orb was within reach, pulsating with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Sam stretched out his hand, his fingers brushing against its surface. The moment he touched it, the ring stopped spinning, the energy dissipated, and the orb emitted a soft, musical chime. Sam fell to the ground, landing hard on a now stable platform. He lay there for a moment, staring up at the shimmering ceiling, his chest heaving as he caught his breath. "Well done, Sam Carter," Ketra's voice said, and this time, there was a note of genuine admiration in it. "You have completed the trial of will. Few have made it this far." Sam sat up slowly, wincing as his sore muscles protested. "Yeah, well, you're really bad at making obstacle courses," he said, his voice hoarse but laced with a hint of humor. Ketra appeared before him, stepping out of the shadows like a towering figure of judgment. For the first time, her expression wasn't one of challenge or superiority. There was something softer in her gaze, respect. "You have proven yourself human," she said, "but this is not the end. The true test begins now." Sam frowned. "True test? You're kidding me, right?" Ketra didn't answer. Instead, she extended a hand, helping him to his feet. "Prepare yourself, Sam Carter. What comes next will determine the fate of your people." As the chamber dissolved around them, Sam couldn't help but wonder what she meant, and whether he was truly ready for whatever was coming. The ultimate revelation. Sam Carter stood in a vast, open chamber unlike any he had seen before. The walls shimmered with the faint glow of alien constellations, their light pulsing softly in time with an unseen rhythm. In the center of the room floated a massive, crystalline structure, spinning slowly and casting intricate patterns of light across the chamber. It radiated power, ancient and overwhelming. Ketra stood before it, her towering figure silhouetted against the swirling brilliance. For the first time since Sam had met her, she seemed smaller, not in stature, but in presence. The confidence and command she had exuded throughout the trials were now tempered by something else. Hesitation, maybe even vulnerability. "This," Ketra said, her deep voice reverberating through the room, "is the heart of Zorixis, the last remnant of my people's legacy." Sam approached slowly, his eyes fixed on the crystal. It was mesmerizing, alive in a way he couldn't quite comprehend. "What is it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It is everything," Ketra replied. "Our knowledge, our technology, our history, our very essence. It contains the power to reshape worlds, to heal what is broken, to create what has been lost. And now it is yours to claim." Sam blinked, his mind struggling to process her words. "Wait, what? Mine?" Ketra turned to face him, her glowing golden eyes locking onto his. "You have passed the trials, Sam Carter. You have proven your strength, your mind, your will. More importantly, you have shown something far rarer, the ability to rise above fear, to act with courage and determination even in the face of the unknown. That is why I have chosen you." Sam shook his head, his hands gesturing to the massive crystal. "But why me? I'm just one guy. You're talking about giving me the keys to, what, the universe? I can't handle that kind of responsibility." "You underestimate yourself," Ketra said, stepping closer. "But more than that, you underestimate your people. This is not a gift for you alone. It is a gift for humanity, a chance to prove that you are capable of more than destruction and division." Her word hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Sam's mind raced, filled with memories of the trials, of the impossible challenges he had faced and somehow overcome. He thought of the moments he had almost given up, the doubts that had crept in. And yet, he was still here. "So that's it?" he asked. "I just take this thing and hope humanity doesn't screw it up." Ketra's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "Not quite. There is one final choice you must make." The room darkened, and the glowing constellations around them shifted, forming an image of Earth. Sam stared at it, his home planet spinning in the void. It looked fragile, beautiful, and small. "This power," Ketra said, gesturing to the heart of Xerxes, "can transform your world. It can end hunger, cure diseases, restore your planet's ecosystems, but it can also destroy. In the wrong hands, it will be a weapon unlike any other, a weapon that could bring ruin not just to Earth, but to countless other worlds." Sam swallowed hard. "So you're saying I have to decide who gets this? Who gets to use it?" Ketra nodded. "Your people are divided. You have governments, corporations, individuals, all vying for power. The heart of Xerxes will amplify whatever is in the hands of those who control it, for better or worse. You must decide whether humanity is ready." Sam felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "And if I say we're not?" "Then the heart will remain here," Ketra said. "Hidden, protected, and out of reach. Your species will continue as it is, for better or worse, until you are truly ready to wield such power." Sam stared at the glowing crystal, its light reflecting in his eyes. The weight of the decision pressed down on him, heavier than anything he had faced in the trials. He thought of the wars, the greed, the corruption, but also the resilience, the creativity, and the moments of selflessness he had seen in humanity. "I don't know if we're ready," he admitted, his voice quiet. "But I know one thing. If we keep waiting for the perfect moment, it'll never come. People don't grow by being safe. They grow by being challenged." Ketra studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she inclined her head. "Then you have chosen." The heart of Xerxes began to glow brighter, its light filling the chamber. Sam shielded his eyes as the crystal pulsed with a rhythm that seemed to resonate with his very heartbeat. When the light finally dimmed, the heart hovered before him, small enough to fit in his hands, but still radiating that same immense power. "It will bond to you," Ketra said. "You will be its keeper, its guide. Use it wisely." Sam Carter. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the crystal. The moment he touched it, a surge of energy shot through him, filling his mind with visions. Galaxies spinning, worlds being born, knowledge beyond anything he could have imagined. It was overwhelming. And yet, in that moment, he felt a strange sense of clarity. When he opened his eyes, Ketra was watching him with a mixture of pride and something that almost looked like relief. "You have done well, human," she said. "But remember, this is only the beginning. Your true challenge starts now." The chamber began to dissolve, and Sam found himself standing alone on a grassy hill, the heart of Xerxes glowing faintly in his hands. Above him, Ketra's ship rose into the sky, disappearing into the stars. Sam looked down at the crystal, its light reflecting the dawn breaking over the horizon. He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain: he wouldn't face it alone.